Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Oshtemo Charter Township regular meeting for July 8th of 2025. I will call this meeting to order and invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we have item 3, which is remote location identification for remote attendance when permitted by statute. I received notification from Trustee Ford that he was unable to attend, so his absence is excused. Otherwise, we have all other members of the body present, and so remote location is not necessary. Item 4, Township Mission, Vision, and Core Values. I'd like to invite a member of this body to share the core value from the agenda.
I'll be happy to do that. It's something I strongly believe in, and that is to hire staff with strong core competencies within their given profession.
And thank you, Neil, and we are very lucky to have a strong team. Next is item number 5, which is the approval of the agenda. Do I have any members of this body wishing to make any changes of the agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Sikora and a second by Trustee Cole. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we're with item number 6, which is the public officials and community partner updates. And tonight, we have Deputy Ugalde, our community policing officer for commercial here in Oshtemo Township, and he's going to share some information with us.
Hello, thank you for having me today. So first to tell you a little bit about myself, 23 years old, I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 2 years now. Throughout those 2 years, I've worked specifically with Oshtemo Township. I've kind of just learned to love it. I became the CPO officially in April of this year, and so my goal is mainly to address the retail theft in the area, loitering, trespassing, safety concerns. Can you guys hear me fine? Mm-hmm. Okay. The business that the business have, as well as developing a strong police-business partnership to reduce crime. I also am looking to bridge the gap between our local businesses and the Sheriff's Office, provide crime prevention support, build and maintain a positive relationship with business owners, managers, and loss prevention, and maintain a visible presence in business areas to deter crime. One way I've been doing that is being the main point of contact with managers and loss prevention. I found that being the main point of contact has been build strong community trust. On a daily basis, I have loss prevention managers contacting me directly, which increases their confidence in us and improves their response relationship. It also helps with countering the negative past experiences that they've had with previous other deputies. I have found that a lot of businesses have been discouraged with contacting dispatch due to previous slow response. With this position, it's very helpful because I'm available a lot of times if I'm not in a meeting or not conducting follow-up or on another retail fraud. I'm available to, be there when the time comes. By keeping constant contact with loss prevention, I have found that just being highly visible in the area has helped with preventing shoplifting. Just yesterday, I had marshals contact me, and their loss prevention told me that they had 2 males filling a cart up of items. He told me one male was outside and the other male was outside, kind of keeping a lookout. So I showed up in the parking lot. The male that was outside went inside, told the other guy, and they just dished all the items. So it works. Another time while I was conducting directed patrol at Walmart, I had an employee run to my vehicle due to a homeless lady with multiple felony warrants, causing a disturbance inside. Due to me being there, I was able to quickly respond and quickly remove her from the store and then take her to jail, obviously. Another example, again, I was doing a directed patrol at Walmart. I had loss prevention make contact with me. He advised me that there was 2 females concealing merchandise. Again, just due to me being on scene, I was able to quickly respond and recover the stolen items and charge them for obviously stealing. There was another incident when I was conducting a meeting with a manager at Dunham's. I had a dispatch call me saying that there was a missing 2-year-old child wandering in the parking lot. So just because I was in the vicinity doing community policing, I was able to take a hold of the child and take him back to mom. Another thing that I have been working on in an attempt to prevent crime is creating a business community group chat where I've invited managers and loss prevention. The group chat was created to help us all stay connected, informed, and proactive with the issues that arise. There I have informed them that the group chat is a place where they can share concerns or suspicious activity, ask questions related to safety, events, or local issues, submit business-related requests directly to me, exchange info or ideas with each other, and also share photographs or videos of suspicious individuals or incidents to help with identifications. There's a lot of times that we have that I'm not familiar with the suspect, or maybe some other deputies are not familiar with the suspect, but they've had contact with them previously, so we're just able to identify them quicker with this group chat and easier. Another thing I've done is I've met with local agencies and other managers and loss prevention in the county. I've made contact with MSP, Portage, to identify retail theft subjects, as most of the time the suspects stealing here in Oshtemo are also stealing in Portage or other jurisdictions as well. Last year, we also started to accept online reports. A lot of the businesses, managers, and loss prevention, they didn't really like that. They kind of wanted police contact, but just me being able to make contact with them, building a good relationship with them, they've just learned to actually like being able to report things online. When there's things reported online, if there's ever any follow-up that needs to be conducted, I kind of go into it, look at it, and try to identify the suspect. Because most of the time, when they report things online, we don't have any suspect information, that we don't have a plate number, we don't know the name of the suspect, so I try to go in there, send out a photograph, and identify the suspects. So a lot of the times, loss prevention or managers of other stores, they don't know how to kind of report things, so I've kind of just showed them what they need, itemized list, evidence, video footage of things that are needed to make an official report. Another positive thing I was able to achieve while making contact was with Lowe's. I found out that they had fog cameras in the business area that they have. So if you guys don't know, those are license plate readers. Usually with those we use to find suspect vehicles that are driving, we have cameras on Drake Road, different other areas. I found out they had those fog cameras, and I was able to make contact with their corporate, have the sheriff make a letter out for them, and we were able to get access to those. So I know there's a serious issue regarding the retail thefts and crime in the business area, and I really want to help deter those crime rates. I'm looking forward to obtaining feedback from you guys. If you guys have any questions, concerns, some requests that you guys want me to do, I'm more than open to it.
Thank you, Officer. That was a very good report of your activities. I do want you, before you start to take comment from the board, do you want to talk about your National Night Out,
yeah.
please?
So, yeah, we are having National Night Out August 5th at 6 p.m. It'll be at Flesher Field Park. We'll be hosting games, food. We'll be there. Police will be there. Firefighters will be there. We'll have some face paintings. So what National Night is, it's a community building campaign that promotes strong police community partnerships and just neighborhood camaraderie. it's a chance for residents and law enforcement to just come together and build a positive relationship. And so we also created not too long ago gift card posts. Basically what it is, we hang up gift card scams at other stores. I've been providing them to stores since there's a lot of elderly that buy gift cards get scammed. So that's another thing we've also been working on.
Oh, that's good. I get one every other day in my email.
I have a copy right here if you want.
All right, well, at this time, I'd like to thank you, Officer, for your presentation and your information. I'd like to open this up. Are there any questions from the board for Officer
I
Uvalde?
have one.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the large retailers. Have you made any attempts to reach out to the small mom and pop shops in the community yet?
So, for the most part, the main thing I've been kind of focusing on is the bigger businesses. They're the ones that have been caught calling dispatch every day. They're constantly calling dispatch, constantly having retail frauds there. So that's not something I have done, but if that's something you guys want me to do, then I'd be more than welcome to it.
Well, I bring it up because, the large big box stores get all the attention, of course. They're,
Yeah.
Have the numbers to back that up. But the small mom and pop shops, building good relationships with them is also beneficial to the community.
Yeah.
And lets them know that you're there in case there are problems that come up. Obviously, they don't come up as much, but they are
Yeah.
valuable parts of our community that building a good relationship with could be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, so now that you bring that up, what I'm actually trying to do, something similar to like a neighborhood watch. I want to do a business community watch where what I really plan on doing is writing a letter to them, handing out a letter, kind of explaining to them what this business community watch is, and then hopefully I can get a decal saying business community watch, Sheriff's Office, Oshtemo, and then that way they can have that posted up on their windows.
Thank you, Trustee Chapman. Any other questions or comments?
I didn't have a question, I just had a comment. I just want to say I appreciate your efforts. It sounds like you've hit the ground running, and I especially like the initiative you took to get the group chat for the businesses together, and it'll be nice to see all of them added eventually, but
Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly why we wanted a community policing officer, right, in
Right.
Oshtemo? That collective knowledge and information sharing, and having the business owners know that and feel that the county sheriff's department is responsive.
Right,
Or
and
the
we're here.
Oshtemo officers
Yeah, we're
are
here to help,
aware
yeah.
and responsive, and it helps, of course, having one point of contact. So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited to see what else you've got to do, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. We get these reports, but it's nice to hear some what actually happened on some of these.
Yeah.
That's good feedback rather than, oh yeah, there's a certain number of things happened.
Right.
And this isn't necessarily for you, a couple comments. I was surprised to see on the calls, source and venue, how many Oshtemo Township has listed on this for citizen-initiated ones, 6,151. It's like way more than anybody else. Are we just that active, or, I mean, it just seems that nobody else is like 50% of that. It just seems
I mean, that's a question I can't answer for you. I'm hoping that we will get our detective at our July 22nd meeting, and so perhaps he can discuss what that discrepancy is.
Sure. It'd be interesting to know. And the number of FOIA requests, are the FOIA requests for the sheriff's department?
I would believe so, yeah.
Yes, our FOIAs are
Would be
tracked
totally
separately.
different, yeah. So this would be something that someone wants to know about, maybe something that happened to them or in the neighborhood or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Insurance.
Case,
People are
insurance.
usually asking for a police report.
Okay,
Because we still
Police
get those
report.
requests, and then I
Yeah.
have to send them on to the sheriff.
Gotcha.
It's usually a police report.
yeah,
Just leave it on.
okay. And the only other comment I had on the alarms report that comes through, if someone could provide us, or at least provide me with an explanation of what the disposition codes are. I just see them and I have no idea what they mean.
Okay, so next time, like,
Or
you,
just email it to us.
okay,
or
so you wanna know,
email
like,
it.
they're closed out false alarms or something like that?
Well, like this FA1, NRPT, I have no idea what any of that means.
NRPT? So
You know,
NRPT
it's
means
like-
no report taken. Technically, we're supposed to close them out as false alarms, and not no report taken. So that might be somewhere where another deputy was also on scene and they kind of closed it out as no report taken.
I can ask that we get what's it called, like a key that
He needs a police
outlines
code
the-
acronym
Right,
legend
yeah.
that
with the
outlines
10 codes as well.
The shorthand.
Yeah, I usually think of these when they come in earlier in the month, and then later someone from the department comes and talks to us, and by then I've forgotten that I had this question.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
Yeah.
that's good.
It's like, oh, I should have sent an email.
I wrote down, Neil has a
Super.
question right
Thank you.
here.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, for the
Nice
most
meeting
part,
you.
those NRPT, those are no report taken, so more than likely, they're just false alarms.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Treasurer Bushka?
Sounds great.
Um,
I do.
Clerk Farmer?
Could you just remind us, what sort of training have you had that assists you in your efforts of community policing? Like, how is it different from what another deputy might be doing?
Like a road patrol deputy or,
What sort of training makes the community policing officer a community policing officer and not a road patrol deputy? Or is it just
I think,
tasks?
well, for the most part, as a community policing officer, I'm more focused on engaging with the community. For the most part, the other road patrol deputies don't do that. They're, for the most part, making traffic stops, taking
No,
calls.
I understand that. A few years ago, Sheriff Fuller told us that he had access to community policing training. And that, because we were offering to pay for it at one point, we were like, well, we'll pay for it if we can get our deputies trained. But he said he had it. So that's my question is, did you go through any special training to be a CPO?
To be honest, no, I did not.
That's okay. I'm not trying to put you, I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
That was all.
I just kind of tried to do my own thing, see what brings me the most success.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'll just add to that, because I think that what they look for in their sheriff's department when they're picking or promoting or you're bidding for the CPO spot is somebody who wants to be doing those, point-to-point contacts with people versus going to wherever dispatch sends you. So I think it's less about the specific training for it and more about, what your goals are right now for how you serve your community.
And that's
Right.
what I meant, is it
Yeah.
more goal setting? and
Yeah,
task
and I think that's what we were looking for too. We said we want the right person, right?
Yeah.
In these positions, the detective, the CPO, and,
And this is where I shop, this is where I come, I live nearby, so, I'm wanting to make this community greater.
And I appreciate that. So do we.
Thank you. I have a couple of just short questions for you. Can you share anything about when you show up at a business, especially for the first time, and you say, I'm your community policing officer, what's the response been like from the business community?
So for the most part, there's a lot of people that, like managers and loss prevention, they feel relieved, because for the most part, they make contact with several other deputies, and then they don't get any other follow-up, they don't know what's going on with the case or anything like that. I let them know I'm the community policing officer, you can always reach out to me, if you have any other questions, if you need to, just call my cell phone, text me, I'm always here to help you guys. So for the most part, there's a sense of relief, and just because they've never really had that support.
No, that's good to understand, and I imagine so, and that continued follow-up is going to build that trust
Right.
between the business owner and the township and the
Right,
community.
yeah, and whenever there's something going on at a business, I'm the one that's there.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to add another question. So if a business calls 911 and says, I have a potential shoplifter, whatever, does 911 dispatch you, or do they dispatch another on-duty officer?
Well, for something like that, they usually put it on our board, so on our computer. Since we're basically in our cars all the time, most of the other Oshtemo deputies know if there's something at a business, that's mine.
you.
So
Okay.
I attach right away and get to going.
No, and that makes sense, because
Yeah.
that's a time saver. I mean, so those cars can respond to other things.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're responding to that. So
Yes.
I'm glad that that's kind of happening on the back end.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing, I guess, that came out with me is I also, this business community group chat, and you don't have to answer the question right now, but I think it would be good for the township to be involved in that group chat so that we can kind of just be a part of what they're saying.
Part of what's going on, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about that further in the future. I don't want to, I do think it could be helpful as far as understanding what the needs are
Right.
from the community. So anyway, just food for thought in
Okay.
the future.
Yeah, for sure.
And yay, National Night Out.
Yeah. I'll
Very
get colored
exciting.
copies of those soon, so.
Great. Any final questions for the officer? All right,
All
thank
right.
you for joining us.
Yeah,
We
of course.
appreciate
Thank you
the
for your
update.
time.
Thanks for serving our community, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. And looking in front of me, I don't see any other public officials or community partners with us to provide updates. Oftentimes, we have the road commission or the county commissioner here, but they must be at other things. That's okay. So now we'll move into our work session, which is the continued conversation and presentation of achievement goals and visions. Tonight, we have our planning director, Jody Staforia, and she will, I guess, are you going to present in the order on the agenda, or?
Yes,
What agenda?
yes, I
Because
am.
this isn't on my agenda.
Number 7?
Number 7.
Public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items. This is the one that's on the website right now that we approved at the beginning.
Exactly.
I'm looking at the one on right now. Number 7 is public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items.
That's what I have.
And that's what Michael and Kristen have. I have no idea. So I thought, like, for my agenda, we were going on to public comment in the consent agenda. I didn't realize we had another item here. We can just add it right now.
Well, so this brings up another question, then. Which agenda did we approve again?
Well,
That's why I said the very first time we did this, that we're approving the one that is available on the website
okay,
at the time
then
the meeting
that's what we're
begins.
approving, so apologies, Jody, we got to stall because.
Well, that's the one I printed mine from, and I'm on my agenda, or
I-
your agenda.
I agree, but the one on the website does
Oh.
not agree with that. So, Attorney Porter,
We could change it right now.
okay, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include the work session, which is the achievement goals and visions presentation of the planning department.
So Therese, you're not crazy. I guess the agenda you looked at didn't have the work session. Not that I called you crazy.
Well, if you're making that as a motion, since I made the previous motion, I'll second your motion.
Thank you,
Although I didn't say.
Trustee Sikora. So I have a motion by Supervisor Bell and support by Trustee Sikora. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Devil's in the details, folks, I swear to goodness. Okay, so, the new agenda item for our work session is a presentation from our planning director, Jody Staforia, and she will be presenting on the Downtown Development Authority, the South Drake Corridor Improvement District, and the Planning Department,
But not in that order.
but not in that order.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the planning department. First, I'm not gonna go through all of it, because that would be tedious. So for 2024, I wanted to hit the highlights since that's in the past. So accomplishments in '24. And I did it by categories this year. I think I got that idea from Public Works. It was more organized than just a running list of bullets, which got monotonous last year. for me to present to you and for you to listen to. So zoning ordinance accomplishments in '24, some of the big ones was adoption of the mixed-use district. You did all that before I arrived, so well done. And then creation of language for distribution and fulfillment centers and large warehouse developments. We didn't really have language, but those can be, have quite the impact on the community, so we crafted some careful language and some standards, and we had industry input, so we didn't do it in a vacuum. So those were two big accomplishments in '24, zoning related, as well as I did secure a grant to do a zoning audit regarding housing and how our ordinance can be modified to make it easier or more affordable, allow for different types of housing dwelling units. Yeah, so that's from MISTA. We still have that grant, and I just report quarterly that I'm waiting for the master plan to get in the final draft stage, and then I'm gonna have Progressive look at a contract amendment with them so that they can do a kickoff meeting with the Planning Commission, saying what the Michigan Association of Planning Zoning Reform Toolkit is all about, and how of the dozen tools or so they recommend, how can we implement those here to take a close look at our ordinance per our housing plan and per the new language coming in the comp plan. For site developments, we have not used a planning consultant for reviewing planning and zoning applications since early 2024, so I call that an accomplishment. We're staffed up and able to do it in-house now. And planning worked with other departments, being legal and public works and building, to update the temporary certificate of occupancy process and requirements, and that is working out well now. For department administration, we implemented a new filing structure for development projects, working closely with Public Works on that. Miscellaneous items, we initiated the process to become a certified redevelopment-ready community with the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, that will open some grant dollars to the township and help us align all of our practices and policies for what they consider best practices around the state for a community that wants to encourage development and good development. I've worked closely with the treasurer on identifying old escrows that could be refunded, and so I think those are all issued, the refunds we want to give from the much older ones. And we're still determining what to do with escrows where they might owe us some money still, but the project's been done for a couple of years, so that's our next step. I should have put that as a goal but I didn't. Okay, moving to 2025, goals we had for this year was to kick off using that Housing Readiness Incentive Grant. I do hope that will get kicked off in September with the Planning Commission. And we're gonna start as soon as the master plan's in a really good position to start identifying and prioritizing amendments we want to do to the zoning ordinance to implement the future place types map and some of the other change that the master plan is going to call for, like consolidating our industrial districts. We have 4 right now. Modernize any standards that might need it with the consolidation. Eliminate our overlay zones as much as possible and just incorporate those standards into the underlying zoning district. Because when you look at it, our overlay zones contain a lot of the same provisions about protecting the environment and access management, and like that should just be general language. It doesn't have to be specific to an overlay zone, which can be confusing for a developer if property is zoned R3, but it's also in the overlay zone, going back and forth between the multiple sections on how the site should be built out. So we're looking to just consolidate the overlay zones into existing provisions as much as possible, and hope to start thinking about that harder this year. For the comp plan, it should be in final draft in a couple of weeks. I hope to get it out to the Planning Commission by the end of the month so they can have a presentation on it at their first meeting in August, and it gives them 2 weekends to look at it because it's a long document. So we're planning a presentation by the consultants with staff support at the August 14th Planning Commission meeting. For department administration, we did kick off the migration of paper files to digital records. We were able to bring in a retiree who did this same work for Comstock Township, and she's working closely with,
Carrie?
I was going to give her title.
Oh. Well, she is the clerk's assistant.
The clerk's assistant who, Winky is going through the files, getting rid of duplicates, discarding documents and fax transmittal cover sheets that we don't need to keep, and then Carrie is scanning all of those in. So we can free up a lot of real estate in the office and just make it easier to find things online than to go dig through a file cabinet that doesn't want to open because it's overfilled. Miscellaneously, we did achieve essential status with the Redevelopment Ready Community Program, moving on to certified status. So there's two different statuses that they offer now for certification. Essential is really meant for the communities that don't have the staff time or staff at all to implement some of their ideas of what they consider best practices. But they have some bare bone requirements that we satisfied right away. And then working towards certified status is having these published documents on your website. So a developer that might be from out of state can go to our website and see for, like, I'm pursuing a rezoning, here's all the steps, the estimated timeline. But it will cover every type of application that might come into the planning department and lay out the process and contact information. And also, some of the differences is we will have to, if we want to be fully certified, is prepare an economic development strategy and a marketing plan. And I already talked with our new media and communications manager about the marketing plan. He seems pretty excited about that. He said he's worked on over 30 in his career. I said, well, we'll have you definitely be part of that document, if not the lead on it, and then maybe it coincides with a economic development strategy, like maybe they're one document. So we'll see as we work towards an RFP. And because we're pursuing certification, there's grant funds available. So if we do hire a consultant for the economic development strategy, we can get up to $40,000 with a 25% match for anything we want to do towards certification. But this is where we need the work. Had we not already been under contract for the master plan, we could have used money towards that. But that's already budgeted. And then once we are certified, which should happen sometime in 2026, then annually we're eligible for grants that don't require a match to start implementing some of your vision or something else. Like maybe we say we wanted to update, this is a bad example, but access management plan. Well, there would be grant funds available to us to do that work because we're a certified community. As long as it, it's moving us towards being redevelopment ready. There's a group of planners that work for the MEDC that meet bi-weekly to consider all the communities in the state that are achieving this status or are already certified, that what projects do we want to fund. So we're going to throw our hat in the ring to try to get something for fiscal '25, which ends on September 30th, but we'll see. They might have obligated all their funds by the time we get it in. Okay, so that's a lot about redevelopment ready community. Another miscellaneous thing accomplished so far in 2025 is development with the legal department of the Brownfield TIF policy, and then working with Public Works on community reimbursement agreements. That language is part of the recently amended TIF policy. So we'll be able to consider on a project-by-project basis what public improvements might be appropriate, benefiting that development and maybe neighboring residents. And working with the DDA and Public Works on continuing to study the Atlantic Avenue extension. And then not only have we been able to discharge a lot of old escrows, we're now using buildingdepartment.net, a software program to keep track of them instead of a ridiculously large spreadsheet. So, and everybody, Public Works and Planning, and of course, Treasury and Building will be able to go in there and keep track of escrows, enter. So if we hire Pine and Newhoff to observe sewer installation, we'll be able to go in and make a notation in the software, and it will deduct whatever their fee was from the escrow that the developer gives at the beginning of the project. So it's gonna be a lot cleaner and a lot less stress for the Treasurer's Department, right? Right, okay. Thumbs up. Visions for 2026 is to complete that housing readiness incentive grant work, the zoning audit that I spoke of. Eliminate the overlay zones is a goal for, a vision for 2026. Working on the transportation and mobility ordinance to add content for the master streets plan, which will be a companion document to the 2045 comprehensive plan. For the comprehensive plan, hope to get that adopted, so it could be adopted by the end of the year, more likely maybe first quarter of 2026. But select from the implementation chapter those high priority projects, policies, and programs that we can get implemented. And some of that will require outside help from consultants. There will be zoning amendments, of course, to start implementing the master plan, select rezonings to take properties that might be incompatible with the place types map, which is the popular way to say a future land use map these days. Place types map, so there might be some rezonings. We're not gonna go around and do blanket rezonings, but there might be some appropriate ones that we initiate at township level. There might be some areas that warrant special studies. 2 special study areas were included with the comprehensive plan work, being the south side of West Main from Lodge Lane to 9th, and then the north side of West Main from 131 to Drake up to H. This is an area that's getting a real intense look right now as far as future infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, what land uses might be appropriate there. So that will be included, more like a companion document also to the comprehensive plan than fully included in the published document. One of the things we heard from the community during this comprehensive plan process is they kind of consider this the center of the township and a hub, so there's been a lot of talk, and we bounced these ideas off the community of like doing more here to make it a gathering place, identity for the community, so they have an area. When you say Oshtemo, people think of this area, and doing a little campus master plan for that early stages, and what it might include, we don't know yet. Coordinate efforts to prepare a campus master plan at the Oshtemo Community Center. There is some land sitting there on the, I guess it's northeast side of Millard's Way that could be utilized in a different way, and maybe we need Parkview to come through there and connect with Millard's Way, but starting to think about what's a better way to utilize that land. And that has come up also at DDA meetings, not just through the comprehensive plan process. And here's our big lift for Vision 2026, Anna Horner. Collaborate with Public Works on education of road agencies regarding our master streets plan, so pray for us. Hi, Carrie. No one's from the road commissions here, that's good. Site developments, work with the other departments to evaluate and select a project management software. If we don't have software that already can do this for us, that would streamline and coordinate reviews and approvals, manage workloads, and improve customer service from the time they apply for site plan review to the time they're getting their certificate of occupancy. Because right now it can be a lot of running around at all stages of it by the zoning administrators to get feedback from some of the other departments, or to make sure that the developer is being responsive to the feedback that these other departments and planning are giving them. So I was hoping, I know there are a lot of companies that offer this type of software if we don't have something already.
I don't think we do, but we've used quite a few, especially when we went through the website process here. We had, they used software to keep us on track with things that needed to be done, so we do have people familiar with software like that. It's a good idea.
Yeah. And then the last one under site developments for 2026 is to work with Public Works and the Ferlito Group for the West Main Villages project to get Seco Drive extended to that development's west property line from where it ends right now. For department administration, if it works out in 26, I'd love to work with human resources to evaluate the structure and staffing of the planning department. I don't know if there would be opportunity for position and title changes, compensation adjustments, or need for additional staff or staff support. So if the opportunity presents, we would like to have that discussion or start thinking about it. Miscellaneous, we will be certified as a redevelopment-ready community in 2026 and secure that grant. Work with the supervisor and clerk to evaluate and select agenda management software, if so supported by other entities. I would like to see in '26 is that we do a more formal CIP document, and I think we have the staff capacity now too to bring it all together with graphics and information and images, and like if we want to build a bike path, there's a picture of the area where there's, and this is also an expectation of the redevelopment ready community program, but I think our document can be more robust and it would be more informative to the community too of what we're planning to spend funds on the next 6 years, amended every year, of course. Let's see. Continue to work with Public Works to identify projects and negotiate community reimbursement agreements for housing developments that are asking for TIF approval, tax increment financing approval. Work with our neighbors under the lead of the Public Works Director on a West Main Street Drake Road corridor study. And work with Public Works also to expand utilization of GIS, which it has so much more potential than we know how to use it for, to guide and inform short and long-term land use planning and infrastructure decisions. So that's planning. Downtown Development Authority, okay, so when you run spell check in Word, it does not check a header or a footer, so I apologize that there's an extra O, so they're now gonna go by Development Authority. Not really. So in '24, they did expand the facade program to include signs. So that was an accomplishment. Still working on the business inventory, which we got started to do a mailing out there to members of the DDA area business owners, just to let them know that it's not just for facades anymore. Could be also for streetscape too, so that all impacts how it looks and feels. Doesn't have to be helping somebody with just their facade, make a new sign that meets the ordinance or landscaping improvements. Goals for '25, partner with Public Works on Atlantic Avenue, secure CATS TAP funding, which we did for 2028 to build sidewalk on Stadium Drive from where it ends at the power lines to 8th Street. Won't be enough to cover the whole amount, but we did receive the TAP is Transportation Alternative Program funding from MDOT, and so the region only gets so much every year. We have a prioritization process, and Oshtemo will get the funds in 2028. Abate the asbestos in the buildings at 6227 Stadium, the old Happy Tales, that has been accomplished, which is fortunate because the fire department is in their training. So we did work out an arrangement with the fire department, and they're happily sharing those buildings for training with other firefighters in the region. Working with the Parks Department, which I appreciate the knowledge of the maintenance director and the Parks Director on the flower bed maintenance for the Corner Plaza, the Community Center, and Millard's Way. And if you've been by Millard's Way, trust me, we have a plan for it. So just don't look at it right now, but we're waiting for the end of this season, and we're gonna rip it out, start over. The idea is to take the daylilies, because they're so pretty, and put them at the Drake Farmstead instead of leaving them there and then coming up with a new landscape vision for the center of the roundabout there. Further expand the grant program to extend the opportunity to homeowners. I'm gonna introduce this to the DDA when they meet next week. Note to self, get the agenda together. They are, we're suggesting, and this was Leanna Harris's suggestion, that we allow homeowners that are in the DDA district to be eligible for the grant dollars too. So maybe it helps their facade or the landscaping in front of their home. It would all be stuff that's visible from the street that improves the district. So I'm gonna ask the DDA, the grant limit is $5,000, and we've only had a handful of businesses take advantage of it so far. Finalize the business inventory, perhaps with the help of David Kopp. And then invite the CPOs, I don't know, I didn't put this on here, to meet with the business owners, because the DDA is primarily business owners, to discuss crime deterrence. And I already did reach out on behalf of the DDA, so we're also going to suggest that the grant program allow for security cameras as long as they're exterior and they sign some type of agreement that says they will cooperate with the sheriff's department with an investigation if there's something on their grant-funded camera that might be useful to an investigation. So I reached out to the sheriff's department and say, like, what specs do these cameras need to be useful to you? So that would be an expectation too, that you buy cameras that have the specs to do it. So that's DDA. Soda. Accomplishment in '24, the biggest one was repayment to the township, $60,000 for the Drake Road path construction costs, the ones incurred already in the past per an agreement that was established about 5 years ago between SODA, being the South Drake Road Corridor Improvement Authority, and the township. The goal was to invite CPOs to the SODA meeting, and we're going to do that for their meeting. They don't meet again until September. I did have one of the CPOs available to come to their meeting in June, but I didn't have a quorum, so I just let the CPO carry on, be out there interacting with the community instead of coming to a meeting that only had a couple people in it. For '26, a vision would be to partner in a corridor operational analysis with the township and other agencies, and the Drake Road corridor, of course. Develop a grant program to increase security on private property, and that might include cameras or improved lighting, which has been an issue in that corridor. Collaborate with the CPOs on safety improvements in the district. Update the crosswalk markings at various intersections. We were going to do it this year, but with the sewer work going on, we're just going to wait until next year and then refresh the crosswalk markings where the path crosses the various streets along the west side of Drake Road. Partner with the township on traffic calming and sidewalks on the residential streets in the district. You can see from the map, some of the residential streets on the west side of Drake Road are the first several hundred feet within SODA, so SODA can help participate in the cost with some of those improvements, whatever they may be. I put on here to study if it would be worthwhile to expand the district and increase capture for investment in infrastructure, and I don't know if that would be continuing along West Main, going westward. There's no reason to go west from where it is now in the residential area. Oh, that study will also be taking into consideration if we open up the TIF plan, the taxing jurisdictions that can opt out, will they opt out? And I think the only one that didn't, per their policy, is the county. So we don't know if we would pursue it, but give it some attention next year to determine if it would be worthwhile or not. That was SODA.
That's a lot.
We'll be busy.
It's really
David?
busy. Does anyone have any questions for Jody or comments or?
Yeah, I had a question about the camera. I guess they have to agree to do the camera program. So is that the program where the police can automatically get onto the camera system live for those exterior cameras that are on the buildings to deal with crime that happen in the vicinity or at the place?
I don't know how that would all work yet.
I don't think it's live.
They can't access it live. Because I know
Oh, I
they do,
see what you
there
mean.
are
Yeah.
programs. I know Kalamazoo City Police was offering that to some downtown businesses in order to, deter
Yeah.
or at least to apprehend crime downtown, and I was wondering if that's what it was.
I think it's the opportunity to view recorded footage
Yeah.
from those cameras.
And that was one of my inquiries, like the camera specs and how long should they hold the footage.
Yeah,
Okay.
currently the sheriff's department has talked to some of the different apartment owners in the area, haven't seen a willingness to allow the cameras that you discussed, but are willing to share information from their systems, but not have be an integrated part of the
Saying that,
sheriff's system.
in the township, businesses that have been offered it have not really been interested.
Yeah, the ones we've talked to so far haven't really seemed to want to be.
I wonder why. I mean, I don't, they're all exterior
So-
cameras.
I think we have one complex that was reported by ordinance enforcement that is installing the license plate readers and is willing to share.
Yes. They'll share information. I don't think they're going to make it part of the integrated system.
Oh, right, okay, I
Shouldn't
missed
be-
that part,
Is it
okay.
a liability thing, do you think, that they're, and it's a new it's kind of a new technology.
Part of it
as
is a
far as-
liability issue. Their attorneys are worried about privacy,
Yeah.
worried about the impact it would have on the rental community if they thought it was going to be open 24/7 to the police versus just available when there's an incident. So
Yeah.
there's some reluctance on,
The city police department has been doing it for 15-plus years at Interfaith Homes on the north side. So it'd be interesting to see if, how that plays out, but I would love it, and I think it really cuts down, I wouldn't even necessarily say that it necessarily cuts down on crime, but it's certainly apprehending the perpetrators.
I think it's going to be a
100%.
first good step if we can get them to start sharing the information
Yeah,
and then build some trust, use our community policing officer to continue to build that
Yeah,
trust.
that
Then there-
should help a
Then there
lot.
may be an opening for that in the future. I think
Yeah.
that's a likelihood. But I think it's going to take small steps to
yeah,
get
no,
there.
I hear you, I was just curious if that's what it was, thank you.
Is there any other questions for Jody?
I just think this board should know that I was in court this morning and a representative from the Comstock area was bemoaning their fate, that Jody's
know,
no longer
we're-
there and she's here.
We're just cool,
And I
that's
said-
all.
I said, we were good with that. So,
Thank you for sharing.
Certainly, I appreciate your comments regarding the evaluation of your department with HR, so, actually, I've started some internal work around that, that's kind of, it's more broad than just your department, so I think your timeliness is absolutely spot on. So I'm glad that you brought that out. I do think that not just the quantity of work, because there's been a huge quantity of work that's come out of the planning department. I don't think you really have to recognize how much, when Jody came to the township, that she really not only grabbed a hold of the master plan, but also numerous ordinance updates, new policies at our request. I mean, so, thank you for all your good work and the thoroughness of this. And it's not just churning out material, but I know you put a lot of time, effort, and thought and collaboration into really meeting the need of this community right now.
Well, like your principal or mission, you have surrounded me with very talented people, so they make it joyful and easy to do the good work we do.
That's what we hope. All right, well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It doesn't look like 2026 is going to be any easier, folks, just so you know. Okay, let's see what time we have here. We have 6:25, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll take a break, and we will reconvene at 6:45, and we will start our regular, we'll start at item 8 with public comment. This meeting is
I don't want to do it like this anymore.
evening. It's 6:45, and I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We are on item number 8, which is public comment on any items in the consent agenda or non-regular session items. At this time, is there any members of the public wishing to speak on anything in the consent agenda or the non-regular session items? Seeing none here with us at Township Hall, seeing none on online, I will close public comment number 8 and move on to the consent agenda number 9. In your consent agenda, you have the June 24th, 2025 meeting minutes, the June 25th, 2025 meeting minutes, second reading regarding ordinance number 679, zoning text amendments regarding ADU and accessory dwellings, the second reading regarding ordinance number 680, zoning text amendments regarding parking. Item E, second reading regarding ordinance number 681, zoning text amendments to transportation and mobility ordinance and access management, and the receipts and disbursements report. Any members of this body wishing to remove an item off the consent agenda, or I would entertain a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
A motion by trustee Sikora and support by treasurer Bushka. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we move on to item number 10. And this is a brownfield consideration, brownfield TIF plan regarding Maple Hill Subaru. Our planning director, Jody Staforia, will do introductions and beginning of the presentation, and then invite the applicants up to address their application to the board.
So I'll be brief because we have a more formal presentation, but what is before you tonight is a resolution to adopt, resolution of approval for the Maple Hill Leasehold LLC Brownfield Plan. It's Maple Hill Subaru moving into the former Westside Medical Building and doing partial demolition, significant renovation. There are several items with getting the property and building ready that are eligible for reimbursement under the Brownfield Act, and that is what the applicant is before you to talk about tonight. Eligible activities included lead and asbestos abatement, building and site demolition, and associated administrative activities and contingency in the amount of $927,000. The Brownfield plan provides for reimbursement over 19 years, with the developer getting the first 2, and by the policy of the county, the local Brownfield revolving fund captures the last 5 years of tax increment on any Brownfield plan in the county that they approve. So the applicant and his representatives were before the Kalamazoo County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority last month on June 26th, and that board did vote to recommend approval to the county commission of this Brownfield plan. And tonight we have Macy Walters. You've met all these individuals from Kalamazoo County Brownfield Authority. Therese Searles, he's the consultant from Fishbeck for Jim and the Brownfield Authority, and then Jim Vandenberg, which he needs no introduction. We all know him. So that's what's before you. It would be a resolution if you so choose to approve the Brownfield plan, which Macy will speak about in more detail.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and get this pulled up here. Okay. All right, can you guys see this anywhere? Oh, okay. That's all right. Technology, you know. Thank you. Okay, again, I'm Macy Walters, the Brownfield Redevelopment Administrator for the Kalamazoo County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority with Kalamazoo County Government. So thank you for allowing us the opportunity today to present this plan and for your consideration of the resolution in support of the plan as well. On this slideshow here, you're going to see just a summarization of the plan. It'll probably take about 5 to 10 minutes, and at the end we'll have a chance for questions and allow the development team to come up here and speak as well and introduce anything that I might have missed in the development as well. And so as you can see here on the screen, we have the site plan here that's coming off of Seco Drive at 6565 West Main Street here in Kalamazoo. Overall, this brownfield plan is about 11.14 acre parcel. It's been deemed functionally obsolete. It's the former West Side Medical Building, been purchased by Maple Hill Auto Group. We've been calling this the Subaru Development Plan as well. There will be a Subaru dealership that goes in there, as well as a showroom and some community spaces. Overall, the foot plan of the building will increase. It'll go to about 49,000 square feet. And this is a chance for a local business to expand. They will not be abandoning a site to build a new development site. They're going to expand and further the economic development in the township. So that's always exciting for my team to hear as well. In addition to putting the land to a productive use, we're going to add 31 full-time jobs and retains roughly 170 jobs between the business at their former location to their new location as well, and about $12 million of private investment that's going to be put here in the local community. Construction is estimated to commence in 2025, so around this time, summer, and estimated in about 18 months, so by the end of 2026. There is a site plan. I'm going to go ahead and break it into just a couple chunks here. The very end of the site plan is just for reference only. It's not actually going to be part of the full development here. But as you can see, we've broken up here where the front of the building is going to be, where there's a staging area, some beautiful landscape out front, and kind of that, it's going to be broken up a little bit more with some nice trails and things around the back of the building, but you'll see as we get farther into that. The proposed new building is right there in the middle of the parcel, and there's going to be a significant amount of parking in the back with that bullpen area for their merchandise as well. And you can see that the proposed building is going to be greater than 40,000 square feet there. There is some nice community spaces here. If we get to the end, if Jim would like to speak on those, I would allow him to do so, of course. That's not part of my presentation, but if Jim would like to get into that, we'll let him do so. And then this is just for reference here to show that there is still a tenant on the site who will be using the associated property there, but since it was included in that original site plan, I didn't want to, not acknowledge it here in our conversations today. If Jim wants to elaborate on that, we'll allow him to do so at that time as well. Okay, so just to go briefly over the tax increment revenue that's going to be collected on this, the acronym TIR, or TIF, or Tax Increment Financing Plan. We like to throw out that acronym so we can watch people's eyes glaze over, of course. So eligible activities for the developer, just over $900,000. This is a local-only plan, but there are some state eligible statute allowable things, so there will be a little bit of state tax that's collected, the state education tax, and the local school operating that's in there. Again, only for those pre-approved items for Act 381 statute. The local tax as well, that will be going towards building demolition, the lead and asbestos abatement, brownfield plan implementation, and as well as some contingency costs as well, just shy of $800,000. That's where you can see the developer's eligible costs. The Brownfield Authority is allowed to capture into that Brownfield plan. Jody had alluded about the local Brownfield Revolving Fund. That is the last 5 years of the plan. So the Brownfield Authority is eligible to capture a very small part of state taxes, just under $8,000 for that. And then they'll be able to match eligible activities from those local tax dollars, just under $530,000. That number does include a model 10% admin fee. 10% is the standard fee that the Brownfield Authority models in all of their plans, but really it is just their actual costs incurred for the year divided among all of their Brownfield plans. Right now they have about 16 active plans with a few pending, so by the time this gets approved, they may have 17 or 18 plans that split the cost, the authority's costs annually. And again, this is a 10% cap, so with this plan, the Brownfield Authority would not capture more than 10% of the total TIF revenue every year for this plan. If you're curious about what that number would be, we could go ahead and take a look at the metrics of the plan, and that would give you an idea of about what their cap would be annually. Since this does capture those pre-approved state eligible activities, the state education tax is a fund that the Brownfield Authority will have to pay into. So that is about $21,685 that would be going to that set. I'd like to remind this board and anybody listening online that anytime a brownfield plan captures school tax or state education tax, it does not impact the local school district's per pupil funding. The state education tax fund and the state does reimburse the local schools for the TIF dollars that are captured, so this does not negatively impact the school districts. So when you see those amounts, that is not a concern. It is different than regular TIFA districts or other assessment districts that you might be familiar with. In total, we're expected to capture just under $1.5 million for the duration of the plan. Again, it's only going to be actual costs incurred, so the developer will need to submit invoice packets to show that they have successfully completed the project, and then those invoice packets will go through third-party review from the Brownfield Authority, just to make sure that all of the costs incurred are eligible and allowable for tax increment revenue. Estimated outcomes. We've gone through most of this already, but it's just nice to have it summarized here at the end of the slide. About $12 million to be invested locally, 31 new jobs, 170 jobs retained. The taxable value of the property is going to, a little bit more than double here. It goes from about 1.5 million to almost 4 million is the estimated new taxable value for the site. About a 19-year plan length, so it's just a little bit shorter than what's allowed. Some brownfield plans are allowed to go the 25-year with the last 5 into the LBRF, but depending on the local municipality, there's of course other local limits that may influence the length of the plans. It is estimated about $403,000 will get captured into the local brownfield revolving fund. This fund is something that we use countywide to support all sorts of different economic development projects. The Brownfield Authority this is a way for them to kind of build up a savings account, so to speak, to be able to invest all around the county, even for smaller projects that may not result in a brownfield plan. So it's just a really nice thing to be able to see go back to the community when we have projects like this that allow brownfield capture. I also talked about those 3 township brownfield development goals, or I believe maybe Jody had. There were actually a little bit more than 3 that were met, so we went ahead and highlighted them here. Repurposing of functionally obsolete structure, the increased taxable value by over $1 million, and new job creation. In addition to that, they're also going to utilize energy efficient design elements. I skipped over the BRA admin fee line there, but just to give you a ballpark, it's estimated $132 and some change $1,000 worth of our cap on admin fees. Again, this is just a cap, and it's unlikely that this would have 10% of total TIF capture every year as their admin fee. And then the set tax, it's about 50% of that the state education tax. We have to return half of it that we capture in the plan. So about $21,685 will be returned to the state to go into that fund. And the BRA, when we administer these plans, we are the ones who do the annual reporting, and we send those set payments off. We get invoiced every year, so that's nothing that the township has to concern themselves with. That is something that we take on as part of our annual duties. I think we're getting to the end here, yes. So timeline for brownfield plan consideration. The Brownfield Authority has already voted to recommend the plan. They did so on June 26th. We're here on July 8th asking the township to consider passing a resolution in support of the plan. If that goes through, the next step would be for me to go ahead and present this plan on July 15th to the Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole at their 4 o'clock meeting. And then this is scheduled at the end of August, so August 19th would be when the public hearing and the County Board of Commissioners would consider their resolution to adopt the plan. And there is a notice to taxing jurisdictions that has to be sent out at least 10 days before the public hearing. That is also something that goes in my role, so I will handle the notice to taxing jurisdictions as well. The county clerk is the one who sends those out on my behalf. So that's another thing the township does not have to worry about. There's one public hearing. We invite the developer to speak at that time to thank the board and to, just let the community know a little bit about what's going on. Usually we have these scheduled a little bit closer, but there is a Brownfield conference, so since we're all going to be out of town, we pushed this to the end of August. So usually you would see us trying to get these done a little bit closer together, but that's the reason why it's spaced out from the presentation on July 15th to August 19th. I have my contact information down here if you guys are interested in reviewing the plan. We do have it on our website, or if you just have any additional questions, you can go ahead and email me. Happy to answer those at any time. My direct phone number is there as well. At this time, though, I believe this is the end of my presentation, so I'd like to welcome up Jim. If you guys don't have any immediate questions for me, I believe he has some information about some community spaces he might like to share.
Thank you, Missy. Yeah, just with the whole project, the township's worked well with us through this whole project. It's been quite a laborsome thing that we've gone through. But, you know, we're happy with the property that we purchased. We're, you know, want to keep it green, want to do as much as we can to make it actually a star amongst the Subaru buildings nationwide, not just here. But through evaluation, it fits with the Subaru brand, the Subaru business, and who we are. We're looking to do a few special things. You'll see on there was a dog park in there, you know, where there's going to be an automated park where it washes down at night, but, you know, solids get picked up by the owners.
That's good, because we have an ordinance.
Yeah. Do we really? Oh, good. I like that.
We just passed it about 4 weeks ago.
I like that. We're also thinking between Marty Hodges, the group that still owns the building behind that we purchased the front from, we're thinking about doing a walking trail around the entire property. And there'll be about a mile in total around that property. It's about 20 acres. And then it'll also lead into the new road that will go into the new development there. I know that Marty's working with the township on the road, and that Kalamazoo County Road Commission is, you know, feverishly working to get that done. But that, you know, we're happy to be part of that, where we could split this, and it was a win-win-win for everybody, with Marty keeping that building, us getting the front, and then a new access road that goes into the new plot that's to the east of us, which has been in the news. We're hoping that you can rename Seco Drive versus being a Sealy Corporation. If anybody didn't know what Seco was, it's Sealy Corporation. We're thinking Maple Hill Drive would be really nice, but I jest with that. Yeah, what's that? I already have that. And then the community room, where I'm building the building. I've done all the plans and designs, but we're taking our waiting room area with a kitchenette, bathrooms, that whole area, and making that building so that we can lock off the service side, lock off the showroom side, and then offer up, because we hope to have a large waiting room with a lot of windows facing north, and then a large overhang with a fire pit out in front, so it can kind of mingle in and out, and we're going to offer that up free of charge to charities within the area for whatever the event may be that they want, whether it's auctions, raffles, just, you know, whatever it is. We can then leave the building in their hands, lock up everything else, and when they walk out, the doors lock, and so it's kind of another benefit on that side. And then as Macy had mentioned, everything that we're going to do is going to be going for exceeding insulation on the building, reducing through LED. We're looking at, we've talked with geothermal versus, you know, regular forced air heating and cooling, trying to be just kind of a model of what that land affords us to do, because you need a lot of land or a lot of depth in land in order to have geothermal. And so that's why we're, you know, experimenting with that. And I'll put a plug through the work study that I've said to Jody a number of times, but I've been in front of you for 30 years, Oshtemo Township, and I've been with a lot of the boards and, you know, a lot of just, you know, trying to work through things that every side wasn't seeing. And I've never worked with the board as well as I have with this board. I think, you know, Sherry with your leadership, and Jody coming back in, Anna, you know, Mr. Porter, it's really, you know, a lot easier to do business. It's more pragmatic, and I thank you all. Not asking for your vote based on that. That's just, I've said that, Jody will back me up, that I've said that prior to, you know, tonight, that I think where you guys have gone in the board is so much more welcoming to the business population. And no one's trying to harm the township, and I think you guys understand that. We just want to get to a point where we all agree and we can make a good life for everybody. So I'll answer any questions. Or I have Teresa here from Fishbeck, so.
Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. If there are no further comments from the team here to present on this topic, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for board comments or questions. Do we have any? Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Chapman.
Well, Mr. Vandenberg, I want to thank you because I think this project that you brought before us is the ideal use of TIF funds. There is community benefit, there's employment. This is an actual role model. And I really appreciate the fact that you included community space and that you were very deliberate in that. A couple little questions. The jobs that will be created, do you know what the average salary of those jobs would be?
We did a complete workup on it, and I think our average across our corporations runs about 65,000.
Our average wage. Top end will be, in that building, top end will be over 200,000, and bottom end, we don't start anything under $17 an hour, so you just can't today.
So another point to thank you on, that's a livable salary, and I appreciate that. And last, as a person who's geothermal, kudos for that. So I really appreciate the approach. You have thought about the community, you've thought about the environment, you're returning to the community and investment, and you're bringing jobs. This is truly a showcase model of TIF funding, and I greatly appreciate you bringing this before the board, especially after we recently discussed TIF funding. So absolute hats off to you. Thank you for this presentation. And the dog.
Any other questions or comments for, and actually, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium and answering a question, otherwise the public can't hear you, or whoever the question is pointed towards. Any other questions? Go ahead, Trustee Sikora.
No, I just wanted to thank you also and echo what was said earlier. Everything that we've gone through here and everybody's involvement, it's been very positive, and we really appreciate it. I was kind of hoping with the public space that was available that maybe it would be an election precinct, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be an option for this space because of the way it's set up. Yeah, definitely thank you for sticking with us and being involved in the community and staying in the community too. Really appreciate it.
I just have one comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Dusty.
I've been present in the times when you weren't so happy with the board. It was a long time ago. And I think that what you experienced were a lot of growing pains that we had, and we've been working through that, especially with more professional staff, and I think this is evidence of a really good relationship.
And I agree. I just, the level that it's at today is completely different than the level, I go back to the 90s and, the 2000s, and, it was, I just see from an outsider, I see a more harmonious group in front of me, including, engineering, including site plan, including fire, where it seemed in the past it was all these separate domains, and it was always what's in it for me. And this is more what's in it for the township of Oshtemo, as a good, and in my case, the business. But I think that that's what's changed the most, is the kingdoms have now all come into single silos to figure out what's best for Oshtemo.
We're trying. We're not done yet, but that's the goal.
It's all in the right direction. It's better than saying the opposite, right?
Any other questions or comments?
So I have a comment and question for Macy. And my comment is I appreciate this going through the brownfield first, because this is very, very new to us. And so at least now we have your guidance of, okay, if they're recommending it, then it looks good on our end, as opposed to, we don't know. But my question is, are these going to come across the same way as all of the other brownfields for taxing purposes?
You and I work together quite often. So yes, what I would do, I'm thinking I'm catching your question here. So what I do twice a year is assemble a tax increment financing estimate based on summer and winter taxes. So I work with the local treasurers, you in this case, of course. And so what we do is I send out an estimate. It's not an invoice, nothing like that. We just compare our notes. We take a look at the millage rates, and we make sure that our numbers match up. At this point, usually it's down to the penny. And then before that, if we haven't had time to look at that together, nobody send me any money. This is something where we don't ask for any type of payment from the local municipality until taxes have been paid on the property. And then if there is a tax appeal or something that does occur, we do want to know that, of course, so that we can hold on to tax increment revenue until settlement has occurred. That way we have a better idea of what the taxable value may be. That way we can have a better, accurate assessment. And so usually what we try to do is work out those assessments, and I'm on vacation this week, so that's why you haven't heard from me yet for our other plans, but that's okay. It's about this time of year. As soon as I see the millages and the taxable values up on the BSNA portal, that's when I have all the information at my fingertips, and then I will go ahead and I send an assessment or an estimate for every plan in the local unit of government. And then once I have that from you guys, as soon as the property taxes are paid, then you go ahead and send me what we have. And I also require parcel reports as well. This one's a fairly simple plan. It's not as complex as some other ones, so there might not be as much paperwork involved with comparing the parcel reports, but I do go through and double check that everything that I have received is exactly what I expect. And we do our best to do these estimates so that we can avoid returns of tax increment revenue. All of these brownfield plans are estimates, so of course we think we're doing very conservative guesses. Sometimes these plans can end a little bit earlier if the taxable values come in higher. And that's always a nice thing to see, is to be able to watch these projects roll back into the taxing jurisdictions. That way the local community can benefit from the taxes a little bit sooner than maybe what we estimated. Did that answer your question enough, or is there another piece in there you'd like me to add?
No, that was quite a great explanation.
I did it for the public.
I guess my simpler question was, does it look the same to me on
Yes,
my end?
yes, it will look. I thought you were giving me a question saying, please tell us more. I will watch your eyes glaze over all day if that's what you'd like.
That's a worthwhile explanation.
You can tell I like my job, right?
I don't always know what the back end looks like with the stuff that's coming into you, so. All right, do we have any other board comments or questions? Okay, so we will close presentation time by our applicants at this time. And I think before we go into board deliberation, are there any public comments on this application? No public comment here. Do we have anyone online? So we'll close public comment. We'll move into board deliberation conversation on the Brownfield TIF plan for Maple Hill Subaru.
Well, I'm tripping over my words. I'm thrilled that you chose to rehab the building and keep the building. I often thought, why don't they just tear the whole thing down and start over with something fresh? So it's nice that you were able to go that route and use some of the building and, get rid of what you didn't need. So I think the presentation answered all my questions, and I think it's a great project, and I support it.
Should make a motion.
Well, unless anybody else wanted to talk, I didn't know whether anyone else had any comments.
I will offer the last opportunity for board deliberation comments on this application. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for this resolution.
Sure, I'll make the motion to approve, I'm trying to find the page, sorry.
67.
You could just read it for me,
Motion to approve.
Adopt a resolution of approval for the Maple Hill Leaseholds LLC Brownfield Plan.
That sounds very good, thank you.
Support.
Support.
Oh, I have a motion by trustee Sikora, treasurer Bushka, sorry, beat you. Trustee Chapman, any discussion on the motion? All, it's a resolution, thank you very, I even look at, I wrote myself, it's a resolution. Clerk Farmer, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Cole?
Yes.
Trustee Ford is absent. Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
And Supervisor Bell?
I'm a yes also.
The resolution is adopted 6-0 with Ford absent.
Can't wait for the ribbon cutting. Don't forget to invite us. That was a shameless invitation. We are excited to see what's going to be.
No, we're proud of it, we're proud of what's gonna go on.
It's going to be great. You always keep your property well-maintained, and we
Other than
appreciate.
today, right? Other than the road in front of us.
Oh, well, yeah, but, you know, I know you take great pride in what you do, so,
We did.
good stuff. All right, next we move to item number 11, which is another brownfield plan, a consideration of a brownfield TIF plan for the West Ridge Site condominium. And I believe Jody, Planning Director Steforia, will step us off.
I do not have a pretty PowerPoint, but I did find this additional, the planning commission saw this development for step one approval. And what it is the West Ridge development being developed by Green Development Venture LLC. It's a 39-unit site condominium. It's right across the street here. Can't miss it. And they are using the Brownfield Act which is available for all housing projects because of recent amendments to that legislation. And so all housing projects are eligible. They're using this tool to be reimbursed for infrastructure and other eligible costs to establish this neighborhoods. All homes, as homes will be made available, making up to 100% of area median income. It meets one of our TIF requirements. Being a housing project, it meets one of our TIF investment criteria. So 8 of the units will be available at reduced rents for a period of 10 years, and it's estimated of the 8, 4 will be 3 bedrooms and 4 will be 4-bedroom homes, and the rest of the homes in this neighborhood will be market rate for sale. The 8 will be for lease. For the period of 10 years, the rental income will be held down to meet what MSHDA sets as the standard. We don't say what the rent is per household. It's based on Kalamazoo County and number of people in the household. So they follow that requirement. It does satisfy, again, the 3 investment criteria for up to 20 years of a local tax capture. And those investment criteria that were specifically called out in the Brownfield plan include, again, housing. There is green space. You see quite a bit, actually. This is far beyond what the ordinance requires for a site condominium by more than 5%. And when you're talking about investment in real estate, setting aside an additional 5% is an investment that benefits the community. Let's see what else. Housing, green space beyond our requirements. Oh, and then just total investment in the infrastructure being water, sewer, sidewalk, and the roads. It is asked in the Brownfield plan for reimbursement to the developer in approximately $4.9 million over 20 years. Plus, there's other reimbursement items such as interest on ineligible activities of approximately $981,000. There are experts in the audience that can help you understand some of this more than I can. Community reimbursement agreement, we added that language to our TIF policy and what the townships included, and it is accounted for in the Brownfield plan, is that we are suggesting that we'll pick up where the path ends down here. I was making sure it shows on the screen. This is the east end of the development. Is it? Yeah. We would pick it up in that path and take it east to where it ends in front of Menards, by Menards driveway. So that will be a continuous section of path. And then also taking where their path ends at their street here and continuing to 7th Street, because we have a lot of homes on 7th Street, and that might be a nice walk for people coming out of this neighborhood and going for a walk up 7th Street, looking at the horses perhaps. And then, so that would be something we would construct next year in conjunction, try to coordinate it from when they build their path along West Main, and then some point in the future, get some type of pedestrian crossing along West Main, across West Main Street to the library driveway. Once all that can be studied and analyzed and determined to be safe. And we're not obligated to construct it because it's included in the brownfield plan. If we don't, then we don't ask Macy for reimbursement, so. But we will definitely build the detached path. So that is a language that's included in our TIF policy, and we've included in this TIF plan on about $300,000 to be paid back over 17 years, beginning next year. The county brownfield process, and Macy's expert, she can speak to this, but they have a Part 1 and Part 2 application before they even consider a brownfield plan. So this project has been in front of the KCBRA for both Part 1 and Part 2 review, and I am ex officio a member of that, and I have listened via Zoom to those meetings, and so I can attest to this project having been there. Now, this one's a little different than the one we just looked at. The KCBRA has not reviewed this brownfield plan yet. The timing is such that it made more sense to come here first. It's not a requirement in our policy or in the Brownfield Act that it go to the Brownfield Authority before the local governing body sees it. So it is scheduled to go to them later this month, or is that the meeting canceled, or the county commission meetings?
This one is at the end of July, so has not been canceled yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it must have been a conflict of you not being able to be in front of the county commission because of the conference.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. So it is scheduled to go in front of the KCBRA at the end of this month for consideration, and they make a recommendation to the county commission, not to you necessarily. Your resolution is support of the project. And if you don't support it, then it doesn't, get in front of the county commission. Joe Augustinelli of Michigan Growth Advisors and Brian Farkas of Green Development Venture are present, as is Macy Walters, who you have already met this evening, to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jody.
Yep.
Thank you. My name is Brian Farkas with Allen Edwin Homes, Green Development Ventures. Thanks, Jody, for stealing my whole presentation. Usually there's not a Jody in every municipality I work in, so I'll keep it short and just say we echo what Mr. Vandenberg said about our teams working with your teams. It's really been exceptional seeing the cooperation. I'll be available for questions, but I'm going to turn it over to Joe now.
Thanks, Brian. Hey, good to see everybody again. Yeah, and likewise echoing, it's been a great process working with staff over the last 3-4 months on your policy, as we've been talking about this project for probably about 6 months now. So we're excited to be here today, bringing you a project, the first project using the Housing TIF program that's been drafted intentionally to comply with your policy that you spent so much time preparing. Usually when I walk through these, I like to just sort of walk you through the brownfield plan, which I think you have in your packet, but just help you understand sort of mechanically how these plans work and sort of what's being said where in the document. But I won't get into the deep details, but as Jody mentioned, the sort of the first section is explaining what the project's doing. Again, 39 single-family homes, 8 for rent, the balance market rate for sale. The second section is new that you'll see. Section 1.2 is talking about, it's different than a typical brownfield plan that you're used to seeing, because this section is identifying some new statutory requirements. You have to identify a specific housing need in the community and/or job growth data that is helping support the need for housing in your community. And so that's that section. Section 1.3 is really getting into the property eligibility and the location and legal descriptions of the property. How does it qualify again? This is qualifying as housing property. It is not a contaminated site. blighted, functionally obsolete, any of the old ways that you qualified under the brownfield program. This is taking advantage of the new qualification of housing property. Finally, moving along, the section 2.2 is really outlining, 2.1 outlining the eligible costs. So to recap that, about $4.9 million of reimbursement to the developers anticipated on the project, about $300,000 to the township for its investment in that path, along with accrued interest and payments into the State Brownfield Redevelopment Fund as well. Eligible activities on the site are some limited environmental due diligence costs of about $4,300, some minor site demolition, some minor lead and asbestos abatement. Am I remembering we took down a couple houses? Yeah, that's why. And then the main costs are really in the form of infrastructure and site preparation, which are, that's the biggest driver in any of these new single-family home developments. You got to build a lot of roads, pipes, sidewalks, and that's what is driving costs on homes to be really where you're seeing the price of the home not matching market demand anymore. And that's really what the TIF comes in to support, to be able to deliver a home that the market's willing to purchase. Again, as mentioned, in compliance with the KCBRA's current interest policy, the plan is assuming 3% simple interest calculation on all of the eligible activities in the plan, which get paid back last, and it's a non-compounding interest, so it's we're paying off all the principal first while interest is accruing in the background, and then that gets paid at the back end of the plan. And then the other main new thing here is this financing gap concept. The statute, as we've talked about throughout your policy discussion, the statute allows now for a brownfield plan to reimburse a financing gap associated with the construction of affordable housing. So that is supporting some rent loss that's following the formula that MISHDA describes, which you've adopted within your policy as following MISHDA's program guidelines. And so that's for the eight units. Actually, there's a typo in our first section of the plan. We're actually modeling 11 years of affordability, not 10. Then the balance is really just boilerplate language. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the plan itself, project. Brian, I can bring back up. The one thing I would add, timing-wise, as Brian will say this frequently when we're giving these presentations, there's an acute housing shortage statewide right now. And so they're really motivated to get this project in the ground, as you can see right now, but to be able to get to a point where they can get asphalt laid yet this season. So as the discussion around policy and the timing of that, the iterations of those policies kind of drove them to need to break ground, trusting that this is going to ultimately come together. And so that's why you've seen groundbreaking out there right now, but this is a really critical piece of the project. And so we appreciate all the work that's gone to get us to this point, and would welcome any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any board questions to? Yeah, go ahead.
I do. So the decision to offer the houses for rental versus purchase, what was behind that decision? Because I would be more in favor of creating generational wealth for individuals and decreasing that, using this mechanism to decrease the cost of home ownership versus rental. because rental denies the opportunity for that generational growth. So what was behind the decision for just these ones to be rentals versus the others to be for sale?
Yeah, so we, early on in this project, 6-9 months ago, as we were talking with staff, the plan was to do for sale, utilizing the county's Housing for All millage as the financing vehicle to make that possible. Because the way that works is you're agreeing to sell the house for less than it costs you to build it. And then the TIF reimburses you for 15, 20 years into the future. So you have a today expense that gets paid back over time. And that works if somebody is providing a loan into the project and that loan gets paid back with the TIF dollars. When the county's housing millage application opened up, they were not allowing for single-family home developments with that. So that wasn't an option for the project. And so ultimately, we didn't have a way to make the economics of the project work as a for-sale model. So that's when the pivot to rental was made. So we would, I know I'm speaking for Brian, because we're having this conversation all over the state. Like, I think there's a commitment, we as a development team, I'm considering myself part of the team because we do so many of these together. We want to do some of these as for sale, but it really requires some sort of community lending vehicle that is separate from the project's financing, where that lending vehicle is getting paid back with TIF for the economics to work.
Do we know, and I will have to lean on you, do we know if that's going to change with the county? Is there anything from the county on this? Because it seems a terrible missed opportunity.
So I, of course, can't speak on behalf of the county or the KCBRA at this point because neither of them have had their full review of the plan in a regular meeting. So I, of course, have not been able to observe the discussions from our board members. But this is undergoing third-party review, and so we do have another set of consultants. Teresa Searles' team is reviewing the plan as well. You know, so what I can say is every local unit has to think creatively for every single one of these plans that come through. There's different reasons why deals can be structured a certain way. You know, I personally would love to see all sides of housing, rental, and for sale. As far as this one, of course, it may change, but I would not be able to speak on their full discussion at this time. If something does change, what I would do is provide a memo to this team for your consideration of if it was something that had to come back to this board. If the board did pass this today and there was a change that altered the plan metrics themselves, then what we would recommend is that the plan came back to you for another round of approvals if a change such as that were to occur. Sorry, that was a...
No,
Yeah.
that's very good. But so if we were to approve this and it goes before the board with our recommendation to approve it at this point, would that taint the waters towards the discussion towards ownership?
Oh,
or would it be better for us to wait till the county reviews it and perhaps brings up that point?
So I think what you have to do today is just consider the plan that's being presented to you at this point in time. You know, of course, if it was something that you did not feel like you could make a real consideration, then we could figure out what we need to do in order to get this scheduled back on your books again. Of course, I can't speak for our board, and that could be a question that may come up. When the plan was presented to us, we talked about the differences of, you know, rentals or for sale housing, but of course, those questions were not asked at that time as well. So if you would like, what I can do is write down your questions today too and make sure that that is something that we at least consider from the Brownfield Authorities Board. I, of course, cannot speak on behalf of the County Board of Commissioners. They may ask me that question when I'm up presenting to them as well. So having asked that question allows me to prepare a response for the next person who might ask me that.
Thank you.
So, Michael, I want to speak to kind of your question as well. So I do want to say that when this project came into the township for first presentation, first of all, making for sale units, making it aware that that was a value that we wanted to bring to the township as well for the residents. So that's one thing. And then we talked to them about going to what's the name of Mary's office?
County Housing Department.
county housing, and they did that. And it was looking very promising at first until it was then later discovered that that type of, or the money that was available for the millage didn't apply to this project. So, every single project that's coming in, we are talking to about how can you build in using the county housing millage dollars. And we haven't gotten there yet, but we do bring it forward every single time. And so I just don't want you to think that it's not on our radar, that we don't understand that, bringing homeownership is a value as well in an affordable way. But, affordable rental is also important. So, anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question on that too, just to make sure Michael's got it pulled up. So am I understanding the project rent for the 3-bedroom, 2,120, the 4-bedroom, 2,317, that is controlled for 10 or 11 years?
11 years.
11 years, so it cannot go up.
It will be tied to the then applicable Michigan State Housing Development
Oh, you did say
Authority
that.
100% AMI rent chart, which will change over time. But that's
And-
what it is in today's dollars.
Okay, and then we were just looking at the numbers, and I'm like, I've got a 20-year-old who's still at home because she can't afford to move out. I mean, the rent is just crazy, and I'm looking at this,
But
and
these
I'm
are
like,
3
that's,
and 4 bedroom units.
but that's
too.
what I'm saying, this is very reasonable from what I've seen you just can't get that right now.
And it's a brand-new,
brand-
single-family house, too.
Yeah.
It's a, Brian can speak to
Yeah,
the
if I
value
could
there.
actually.
Yeah.
So, two things I want to point out here. If you look at the site plan, the attainable housing units are going to be indecipherable from the other units in here. So you're going to have for sale, market rate, and then the attainable units. They're going to look the exact same from the street. They're not going to be in a corner of the development. And these are 3 and 4 bedroom homes, but we do a blower test on every single home we build to prove our energy efficiency. So what we're finding is the homes we build today are about 30 to 40% more energy efficient than homes built a couple of years ago. And homeowners save about $2,000 a year in energy cost. And so that's also going to the affordability of all the units, that the cost of ownership or the cost of renting is going to be also lowered by that.
And will there be any, checks, parameters on rental? Like, let's say, for instance, because this is just a handful of rental units in a neighborhood of homeownership, and we're very close to a college, are we going to have, I guess I'm just foreseeing 4-bedroom units. We're going to have 4 college kids possibly throwing parties, and is there going to be a way to make sure that this?
Yeah, so there's going to be, so I think the check there is the income
Requirement?
income monitoring requirement that the development team will have and reporting to the Brownfield Authority, which is required by the Michigan State Housing Development Authority as part of these projects. So, is there a theoretical scenario where there's 4 college kids whose parents collectively make less than 100% AMI? Theoretically possible, but pretty unlikely.
It would likely violate local ordinance as well.
Yeah.
You don't allow for unrelated people to live together.
You have to be a,
Oh, that is true.
you
Okay.
have to be a family.
Yeah. Okay.
Learned something new today. Thank you.
If I could
Yeah,
jump
go
in
ahead,
as
Brian.
well. So we're a locally owned company. We're based in Portage, Michigan. Our rental entity is called Copper Bay Homes. You can go online and look at our homes and where we offer them and what the rents are and view the interiors of the home. Most of the homes are not attainable, they're premium, and we build the same homes for everyone. If there is a violation of the rules, you can call me personally, and I'll make sure that that's taken care of. We're not going to tolerate, I go to a lot of communities and make promises, and if it got out that I was, telling Oshtemo that we're building these homes and they're turned over to college kids, I wouldn't have a lot of jobs coming in. So we're going to make sure that we do right by these.
That's another conversation we had at our initial meeting as well, is, great, you're gonna build these, and now what, and disappear. And so, I appreciate the fact that you maintain that rental arm of your products as well, for continuity.
And if I may just add to that as well, just the Brownfield Authority's perspective on the income monitoring, things like that. We do have development agreements that go along with every one of these brownfield plans, and since this is a housing plan, this one would be part of our housing template. And within that template, it does detail the income monitoring that's required for statute. And, you know, that is just something that we require annually from the developer as well. So there is going to be another eye on that as well from the authority to make sure that the eligible activities, you know, that are related to income monitoring are actually being sold to those who they say they are, and that usually happens before we do the reimbursements. So that's part of the statute here, is we do require that paperwork, and it is locked into that development agreement. That's something we would have as an attachment within the plan. If the plan did receive full support from the whole community, it would be included in there and available publicly as well, which is something that the township would be able to look at and even reference for future housing TIF plans if they chose to do so.
Are there any other questions for our applicant today from the board?
No, I know, you answered the question based on Michael's questions. No question I had, so good. I'm
Just
good.
for some perspective, of other projects happening in Kalamazoo County, in the cities that don't have to go through the county's BRA because they have their own BRAs. There's two significantly sized developments that will be all for lease. And there's another one that's using TIF, and not one of the dwelling units will be affordable. It qualifies just by being a housing project. And those homes will be $450,000 to $650,000 for sale. So it's being used, this tool is being used for a variety of projects types.
All right. Seeing no further questions for the applicants, we will go ahead and take open time for public comment on this matter. Is there anyone here in the public wishing to make comment regarding this application? Seeing none here at Township Hall. Anyone online? No, we'll close public comment and move into board deliberation.
Well, I think it'll be a great addition to our community, certainly addressing the housing issue. And we need to try different ways and different areas because it's a big problem. So I'm glad that we're doing something. And I'm glad you are doing something too, in this particular.
And I appreciate that it is addressing the housing crisis, but is it truly addressing the problem our community has? And we have an affordability issue. We have plenty of high-end housing available. We have plenty of low-end housing, and we need projects for the middle, and, this may be one that somewhat addresses that, given that it's condos. But I still I feel that home ownership is important, and we have to do whatever we can to make home ownership affordable. I know that this project tried. I appreciate very much the attempt. I very much do appreciate that. And the question I have to the board is, would it behoove us to wait till the county? Would that put additional pressure on the county to consider alternative funding? Because I'm just concerned if we say yes, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to the project, I'm just saying, would that help give some leverage to the county to consider the financing option? And I don't know if it would or would not.
Hold on, we're in board deliberation, just a second.
Well, I'm just going to clarify misstatement.
Okay, go ahead.
Just, once it goes to county commission, there's no changes, unless you mean county brownfield authority.
I'm correct. Thank you for that correction. So I just didn't know if that would help or not, if delaying it would allow that pressure to be placed. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think, are you getting at a policy change for the county housing department in order for them to make policy changes that would allow those funds to fall into these kinds of projects as well.
Yes, allow the funding to go towards single-family housing as well.
So I think that is a good question to ask. I think it's gonna require, I have to trust that Jody and the applicant went through due process to test whether or not those funds were available, right? I believe that happened.
I agree.
So now we're talking about a policy change about how the county housing dollars are utilized. And I think it's a good question. And we can invite Mary or one of her team back here to go through that. It's been 18 months probably since she's been here and talked about the funds available. She sends me an email about once every 6 months, like waiting for Oshtemo to have a project, you know, so they want to work with us too. I just don't think that, I think it is unfairly cumbersome to try to get a policy change of that magnitude when this project already knows that they're not eligible for it. You know, like, I think the question's a good one, like, maybe I don't know, if the county housing is sitting on a big pot of money and they're having difficulty doling it out, then maybe they need to look at their policy. But, and when you were talking earlier, Michael, I was thinking that it might be a good idea if someone was so interested for a member of this body to attend the Brownfield meeting and actually speak to that. Because that's what's gonna get the ball moving down the field, in my opinion, anyway.
Thank you for that, because it was just a question.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, so thank you.
Any other comments on this, or any other board comments or feedback on this application?
I just have a clarification question. We're calling this the Westridge Site Condo, but it's gonna be a resolution for approval for Green Development Venture LLC, right? That's, okay, I just wanted to make sure the minutes are correct.
Correct.
I think what trustee Chapman brings up is a good question, and I think it's one that should be asked and answered by the county, at whatever level of the county. My worry at this point, though, is that if we were not to support this, then maybe we would have zero housing out here being built, you know, while they talked about it, or they said, well, yeah, let's send it to the county and they can figure out what they want to do or change it. And that doesn't help anybody in the meantime. I think it's good policy that they should be trying to do as many different things at different levels and everything. But that's my worry, if we don't push this forward, that we miss an opportunity to have any housing, and a good housing. I'm not saying that it's not good housing, but this project providing some housing, if we say no, if we don't support it. And that's kind of where I'm looking at it. I think we should also pursue the question of, you know, if you want a mix of housing, the county, you need to come up with a better system. And of course, they may just say, well, there's only so much money and this year's focus is on this or that, or, you know, whatever. But I think it's helpful to give them a feedback that, you know, hey, we're addressing this and, you know, it's not meeting our needs, you know, maybe not meeting our needs. So.
I agree, and I'm comfortable passing it as is, knowing, you know, echoing what Sherry said, is that it is on the radar. It is, but this is, in my opinion, this is a good project, and it's a start. So I would be comfortable passing the resolution tonight. But I also respect if you
No,
need to.
Like I
Go
said,
to the KBCRA, what is it?
and I wouldn't hold it up because you committed 20%. You know, that I commend you for. And I know you went through the process because I heard you before talk about it. That was the reason I wanted to bring it up. It's absolutely nothing against the project. This is a hurdle that shouldn't exist because we have a specific need. We have a lot of rentals in our community And we just don't have the single-family homes that are affordable. So that was my only hesitation. You did the best you could with what tools you have. I just hope that the county makes more tools available.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of approval for the Green Development Venture LLC Brownfield Plan.
Support.
We can still talk after the motion's been made.
Oh, all right. Okay, motion by Clerk Farmer and support by Trustee Sikora. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes. Am I allowed to have discussion on the motion?
Yeah, we can still talk as long as we want. You've even taken public comment during this time.
Oh, well, no, I'm trying to do public comment
No, you're
ahead of
okay.
board deliberation, so we can deliberate on public comment. Constant improvement. So, there's a couple things I just wanted to point out to the board that I thought were pretty exciting. I mean, details I guess I didn't realize previously, or they just sunk in right now. Number one, many years ago, I was at a joint board training where I forget her name, but she's been involved in the in housing movement in this community for probably 25 years or more. And she came and did a presentation at a joint board meeting that talked about the importance of when you're doing affordable housing, that it should look like the character of the rest of the community, and that the benefits extend beyond, obviously, the economic benefits, but also those children fare better in school. I mean, there are other benefits when affordable housing is embedded in a community and surrounded. So I was really excited to hear that. I think it's Housing for All or Housing First or something. There was some national movement around it. So that was pretty exciting to hear. I don't know if it was by accident or on purpose, but I was glad to hear it nonetheless. And the other thing I just want to call out is, we're going to get our path extended, and I don't want us to miss that this project, not only, it's our first official dipping our toe in the brownfield TIF work for housing, but it also is the first exercise of using our good policy work to extend, as a part of this project, a community benefit in the path. So I'm really excited about that. So that was my conversation on the motion. Sorry, I just wanted to share.
Though crossing the highway may be quite dangerous.
We'll get there. Doggone it, Anna. We'll get there. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Clerk Farmer, thank you for reminding me this is a resolution. Will you please call the roll?
Trustee Chapman?
Yes.
Trustee Sikora?
Yes.
Trustee Ford is absent. Trustee Cole?
Yes.
Treasurer Bushka?
Yes.
I vote yes. Supervisor Bell?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted 6-0 with Ford absent.
All right, there you go. Good luck at the Brownfield Authority, and let us know when it's on the agenda, Macy or Jody, somebody, so we can watch those.
Also groundbreaking too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Groundbreaking, that's right.
We need our helmets.
I like it.
You definitely need high-vis vests.
Yes, high-vis vests and helmets.
All right, moving forward, we are now on to budget amendments. So, as Clerk Treasurer acknowledged last meeting, that this is actually the appropriate meeting for second quarter budget amendments.
Look what you mean, you're not
I
late.
know. So we do have a couple. So in your packet, you will see the quarterly budget amendment sheets, and this arises as department heads evaluate their general ledgers and put items on here that either projects that need additional funding or were not appropriately funded. And then we also have two independent memo and request from the IT director. This technically could have gone on the budget amendment sheet, quite frankly, but the fact that it's an unusual budget amendment in that it's a request to pay for invoices from 2024. This is his information and request are absolutely appropriate, but it is highly unusual that this late in the year, invoices from 2024 would be coming through, so I just wanted to make you
It's
aware.
absurd.
Okay, or it's absurd.
It is absurd, and it's not our fault, it's
No,
Dell's
this
fault.
is not, this is not our fault. And then the last, I just want to, we do have our maintenance director, Greg Fountain, is with us on the Zoom meeting. And he's with us today. You have a budget amendment concerning our generator. So first, I think, are there any, I guess they're presented so that they could be passed as one.
I think we should talk about each individual one or just go through them, because there aren't that many.
Yeah.
And then if we could pass them all as one, that would be really good.
Yeah, that's what I think too, so, looking at your budget amendment sheet, do you want me to call these out individually, or does anybody have a specific question about any particular item on the budget amendment sheet?
We're not paying late fees, I'm assuming on the Dell.
No.
Okay.
What terrible accounting department they must have. It just,
They were sorry, but it wasn't sorry enough as far as I was concerned.
I would tell them to
Does
my-
anyone have any questions or conversation regarding the budget amendment and request for the payment of the 2024 invoices from Dell? So then that gets us to the last one, which is, I think it spells it out for you. And I do have the maintenance director, Greg Fountain, has joined us. I told him he didn't need to sit through the whole meeting to speak to this budget amendment. So, John, do you want to, can you unmute Greg to speak?
Does he have to speak?
He
Oh,
spoke on this
Greg, you
previously,
need to,
didn't he?
there you go, unmute yourself. Okay, are you there, Greg? You're still muted.
But if he doesn't, he did present to us, I think we all
Oh, there we go,
understood.
how about now? There we go,
How about now?
there we go. Do you just want to give us a pretty, a lot of details in this memo, but kind of where we're at and why we're at where we're at with regard to the replacement of the generator at Township Hall?
Sure. We had budgeted for this for 2026. I really thought this generator would make it to 2026. It's never given us any trouble. And it is 20 years old. So, like I say, we'd planned on replacing it in 2026. We'd all agreed on that. Well, unfortunately, it goes through a test cycle every week to make sure it works right. And halfway through its test cycle, a week or two ago, it stopped running. And we called the service technician to come take a look at it and see if we can get it going. And turns out that it has a faulty ignition module, so the engine will not run. Well, being 20 years old, it's difficult to get parts for them. And we're currently waiting so that he can, get the part installed and hopefully get it running again. Now, that's hoping we can get it running. So our concern is, what if there's more to it once he gets this module? So Sherry and I discussed it and decided we better move forward with generator replacement. And because there's what is there? I think I put in there, it won't be till September if we order it today for it to show up to being installed. So that's the urgency on this. We don't have, right now, we do not have a backup to our backup generator like we did for the fire station. This generator is 1/3 larger or more powerful than the generators we replaced at both stations 1 and 2. So that makes it a little tricky to find a backup for this unit. So we're trying to push it along as quickly as we can. We're dealing with the same generator, or Esper Electric, who got the generators for the fire stations and installed them and did a great job and all the things there. So we did contact Esper, got a price, and like I say, we're waiting for approval so that we can go ahead and get moving on this. So there is a sense of urgency. You know, we're hoping that this repair part will get it working, but hope is never a really good strategy. So that's kind of my summary there. Any questions?
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Director Fountain? All right, no questions. So there you have it. It is in the 2026 CIP, but this is, we need to execute that in 2025, it turns out. So I did have an opportunity to talk to the Director of Kalamazoo Emergency Management. The county does not currently have a loaner in stock. However, she has put out a regional request and has also reached out to the state of Michigan. So hopefully, she can identify a loaner, because the reality is if the power goes out, then Township Hall is down. Now, the good news is, as a reminder, the fire department has its own generators, so we don't lose the fire department. But if we don't have power at Township Hall, then we have to close Township Hall. So that's kind of the situation we're in there. So if there's any other questions on budget amendments, otherwise.
I just want to say that.
Use the microphone.
That the fire department is still dependent on Township Hall site for their internet. So
Okay,
they
so
would still be operational on radios, but they wouldn't have their internet.
good clarification, thank you.
And to build on that, this did catch me totally off guard. Like I say, this generator has never given me any trouble. It's been very dependable, but here I am. So on the plus side, you know, I don't think we're in a place where we're going to be weather-wise, and I can't predict it, but weather-wise, I think we're pretty good. We don't have the spring storms. We don't have ice and snow and all that. So, you know, hopefully they can get the generator running. And if we get the generator on order and get it coming, I think we'll be in a pretty good place. So.
I don't know, Christmas in July seems kind of fun.
You're funny.
You know, half of us just cursed you for saying that we're in a good place, because now we're picturing the tornado next week.
Right.
So careful with that.
Well, I certainly, I understand that, but I guess my point is it could be worse. It could be springtime and getting those storms coming in, but trying to look a little bit on the bright side.
Stop while you're ahead.
All right, is anybody ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the second quarter budget amendments as presented.
Support. I have a motion by trustee Farmer, and sorry, Michael, trustee Cole beat you again.
today.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we'll move to item number 14, board member comments and committee updates. And actually, I'm going to ask Public Works Director Horner, who can give way better Public Works. Oh, doggone it. I did it again. It's because I start writing on this. Yeah, that's good. All right, thank you, Neil. So, yeah, we do have time, item 13, for additional public comment. Is there anyone here wishing to make public comment? Seeing none here at Township Hall.
No, but
No,
just- sorry, which agenda are you using? Because 12 is public comment on the one
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, that's
No,
because,
I wanted to make sure that I'm following the right one.
Wait, so what is happening right now?
because remember, item 7 wasn't on the agenda?
Yeah.
That's online. My copy does have item 7. So this got taken off. But, so.
So what is Anna presenting right now? This is her AGVs? Did I miss that?
Yeah, we're here for another 2 hours.
Sorry. I'm not understanding what's happening.
Thanks, Anna.
Instead of the supervisor giving an update on our public works project.
Thank you. Anna's
I've
gonna do it for
asked
you. Got it.
the public works director to do that. But before we move there, is there anyone, I see no one here in Township Hall with this. Is there any hands raised online? No. All right, then we will properly close public comment. And now, our public works director, if you would please give, there's some big, exciting projects going on. So if you would just give us like a little update on what all's happening out in the field, that would be
Yes.
great.
I'll be happy to do that. I'm going to give credit to the other Public Works team members for taking so many photos. So going to talk through, so the contractor for Phase 1 started on Driftwood, and the sewer is all installed on Driftwood. They then went to Westview. The sewer's all installed on Westview, and they are on Sky Ridge. They're about a third of the way done with Sky Ridge, so if you're familiar with the neighborhood, Westview to the west, to the cul-de-sac that's right in front of Redstone Farms, and now they are going to be working from Westview towards Drake to the east. So,
Can you put that in presentation mode?
well, yes, I can. I just wanted to show one thing here, and I
okay,
wanted to
okay,
zoom
sorry.
in. So that was just the progress. So some of these pictures, the reason I wanted to explain that is we're kind of working street by street, but I'm going to show pictures of the individual operations on the streets. So the first step on a street when they begin to work on it is that they mill it. And we did ask people to park, not in their driveways, for access and things, and they did a good job, and then we came in and milled a day early. So the contractor's working with, the residents there, and the residents are working with us. But as I presented to the board and the public prior, these are a lot of the flags that are getting out there. So the utilities are getting marked. They're not all getting marked very accurately, which has been causing some delays, but I did want to kind of show that that's kind of what it looks like. So now I will go into display mode here. So once the milling is done, the road kind of looks, and the sewer's done, the road looks like this. So definitely some impacts to driveway access, but people have been parking on the street and still able to walk to their house. You have had to park maybe a few houses down even, because depending on how many cars are associated with a residence or how much frontage they have, the cars can kind of stack up. So you can kind of see off on this driveway where we don't have direct access for moments of time, but this is, you can't even tell the sewer's in there already, and hopefully we don't ever have to dig it up. And then here's another picture of daily impacts. So this is the sewer trench. The contractor's using this conveyor belt system. If you want to see some videos of it, I was just jazzed out of my mind when I saw this. I sent it to a few of my colleagues, and nobody has seen this conveyor belt system. They're essentially only have an excavator on one side that's putting the material on the conveyor belt, and then it's creating these piles, and then the bulldozer can push it in. The contractor told us that it's actually a local contractor out of Allegan that invented this system, and there was only like 30 of them ever made, and he got one. So very unique. It's very efficient. Yes, it creates a lot of big piles of sand, but then the process for daily impacts can be much more efficient. So that is definitely somebody who can't get out of their driveway and can't even park by their house. Again, daily they're filling back the trench. Again, another example of, this is pretty deep sewer in this neighborhood. We have a lift station. You can kind of see some of the other utility services that they're trying to work around. It did come up that Consumers is going to replace 18
vintage, which I think is an appropriate word for them, services, but they are basically crumbling once the soil around them is removed. So it's obviously for safety and integrity of the roadway and the public infrastructure that this gets done. So we were able to coordinate with them. It's not ideal timing. We would have liked them to get in first, but so be it. We are getting it done. And again, you can kind of see how we're definitely impacting. So I recognize that. I understand it's inconvenient. Public Works is trying to go street by street and give updates with letters directly to people's doors to help them understand the daily impacts and the biggest impacts. This is an example of curb right here that did not get salvaged, although we tried. Here's a sewer lead going in, so this is right on the right-of-way, kind of showing we're not impacting mailboxes, but they are putting these sewer leads in, and then the risers are pretty tall right now. They will be cut after they do the proper testing, just below grade. And then we get to the curb and gutter. So the traffic calming that was approved by this board and the road commission board, some of it, speed tables, speed humps, those can go in with the final course of paving, but we did have to work really quickly to get the design done for the traffic circles. So the 2 traffic circles on Driftwood have been installed, and I'll get to a picture of that. And there is curb and gutter leading to them all the way down, not all the way down, on Driftwood from Crimson, so more the western half of Driftwood. The curb and gutter was existing, so we're only putting curb and gutter back to where it was. Again, kind of showing some driveway impacts. It doesn't make any sense, but when curb is fresh or concrete is fresh, we call it green. So we don't like to touch green curb for up to 3 days. So that happened over the holiday weekend, and there was impacts, but everybody was given a letter that they could park right again, next to the new curb and gutter and be close to their house. But we asked people to not put their handprints in it, put their dog's handprints in it, put pennies in it, all those fun things. So this is leading into one of the traffic circles where the roadway edge is actually curving around the traffic circle. And then there is one of our brand new, first of its kind in a township of Kalamazoo County, traffic circle. And
For what? For calming.
yes, for safety.
For safety.
I was, when Jody was mentioning about the Millard's Way roundabout, I know that the new township engineer, Sharon, really, really wants plantings in these, and she can't believe that we're gonna put concrete in them, and so I said we can make that a vision for maybe a 2027, that we have a standard for what the inside of traffic circles and roundabouts in Oshtemo will look like, and we'll try to work with the road commission on some of those things for, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A water feature?
Water
Sure.
feature.
I mean, I said, what about if we could have kids do sidewalk chalk in the middle and it could be a mural, we can come up with something creative. So it's moving quickly out there. The other schedule updates that I got is that the sewer in this neighborhood, so again, pipe in the ground, back up to gravel, like I showed in the second picture, will be complete at the end of the month, and they will be paving the top course the second week in August, starting the 11th. Is it already August? Gonna be August, yes. So they are 1 week behind schedule that they proposed, but a lot of that was because we were trying to get the curb and gutter designed for the traffic circles. So they're still thinking if the weather holds out that they can keep on schedule. And then they are moving to the Fairlane plat. Actually, on that same week, they're gonna have their pipe crew go to the Fairlane plat. Consumers does have some main replacement they wanna do there, so they're trying to get that designed, approved by the road commission, and install that prior to the sewer going in. The reason they want the gas main installed first is because it's much easier to locate with the new steel mains and the new services with the plastic and the tracer wires. Right now, they're part of the vintage services falling apart is that they're not being marked correctly. And so if we scoop right in front of one of them and then the soil falls into the trench, then the consumer service coating deteriorates, and that's how you find the old gas service. So they want consumers actually to be in first. It will help with some of the accuracy of the locating of utilities. And then, I don't have any great pictures for this, but Chime Street is also out to bid, another sewer project. We did end up kind of breaking it into two phases. We were trying to do a traffic circle at the intersection of Erie and Chime as it led into the Fruit Belt Rail Trail, trailhead, I'm trying to call it that, and Flesher Field, and just needed a little more coordination to get that one through. So we're hoping that can be a phase 2 of that project. But we are proposing on-street parking on one side of Chime Street, roughly 14 spaces, and a 6-foot concrete sidewalk on the other side of the road. This project is in the DDA limits technically, and so the Road Commission, in their last update of their construction guidelines, allows for these amenities, features in a DDA area. So still working out some of the details of how those work on a local road, but it's going pretty well, and I think it will be another good first project. Oshtemo paving the way, no pun intended, for some on-street parking and other streetscape enhancements.
A lot
So.
of interest in that project, too. That surprised me when I opened
Yes,
that.
yeah. So Prine and Newhoff has it on their website, the advertisement for the bid, and so you can see everybody that's downloaded plans and is an official plan holder, and I think there was like 6 or 7 on them.
At least, yeah.
They kind of had mentioned that happened on another recent project that they bid, and it was that contractors now at this time of the year for a short project like that, if they have projects wrapping up early, they know they can fit them in, and they're trying to get one more project done for the year, so.
Maybe that'll work out in our favor.
Yes, yep, and we sent it to Redline and another local contractor that's doing a development project, so we're trying to, use our own local knowledge too to share that information and get the best pricing we can. So, good stuff.
So is Claire happy? Because if Claire isn't happy, I don't think anybody.
We're gonna find out in like the next week, because we're heading towards her house.
I am great right now.
Yeah.
The mounds are getting closer.
You're gonna have we're gonna be able to bring camp chairs to your front lawn. That's our next field trip.
Give me some burgers and we'll hang and watch.
Thank you, Anna.
Can I ask one quick question? And it's a simple one, but the traffic circles, I love it. I absolutely do. But if it's all concrete, what's going to stop somebody from just speeding over it?
Well, there is a curb edge now, so they will mount a curb. And there's gonna be a sign in the middle, so they will hit the sign in the middle. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Anna. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, before, I know this isn't your project, but in light of Jim Vandenberg being here, do you have any update on the M43 and how well that's going or not? I know it's not our problem.
It's going well. They are on schedule. They have a big traffic switch occurring on the 22nd. So Public Works met today with our new media and communications manager to make sure that we get that information out the week prior and share it a few times on our social media pages. We were able to get the slide deck from when MDOT did the open house here so that we can kind of show the cross sections and how the traffic's gonna be switching. But yeah, they're on schedule. So they're gonna move to the south side of the road as stage 2, if you will. And then later in the year, they'll be in the middle of the road, if you will. So, yep, they've been able to truck right along. And I know some people were asking about how high behind the curb was. Like, it was almost like blocking Alta. That's all cut down now, so it's much closer to where the final grade is gonna be. And, yeah, so.
Thank you.
So I have one more then.
Okay.
Related to that. So the highway extension, do you know when they're going to put the large pieces in?
The beams?
Yes, I kind of want to see that. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah, I don't know those dates off the top of my head. The other update I'll give is that KL Avenue, so the bridge over KL Avenue, that switch is actually gonna start tomorrow. And most people haven't, like, I don't know that people notice that they're really on a temporary bridge right now, you know, it just transitions, tapers very nicely. So they're essentially gonna get people over to the new northbound bridge and switch southbound traffic to the temporary bridge. It's gonna open up the ramp at Stadium, which will be very helpful for people, and then there is no closure of any other ramps because we have the distance we need for that merge. So, that's happening this week as well.
Yeah.
So,
And you know, it's funny, when that project launched, it was like a 2-year project, but we're halfway through the 2-year
Yeah.
project.
Yeah,
Like, it's,
they're
you know,
cruising.
it's going.
yeah, so, but I can, come back with some updates on the bridge, or on
Anna's
the
doing- oh, I'm sorry.
business loop
Yeah, let's just go
project,
along.
yeah.
Anna's doing her AGVs next week too, so you'll get to hear a lot more from
Two
Public
weeks,
Works.
right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, sorry, yeah, 2 weeks. I think I just gave her a heart attack. All right, so, with that, I'll just, since I pawned off Public Works projects to the Public Works Director, I'll just do mine very quickly. He was here earlier, David Cobb, the new Operations Coordinator, was here shadowing with John on how the Zoom goes. He just started his 3rd week. Just genuinely great to have him on our team. And then this week, our media and communications manager, Rich Blair, started in-house, and I think Public Works and Planning blew his socks off with the amount of work they came with Matt right off the bat. So remember, be gentle on your new colleagues. But really, I mean, just big, tremendous leaps in the last one. I looked at the applications this week, is our finance manager is out, and we're getting really great applications for that position too. So our new fire truck arrived today. I know some of you had a chance to take a peek at it. There will be a public brouhaha when they do the push-in ceremony. And then kind of wrapping back around to the conversation around which topic, I just want you to know that I believe that the county is going to revisit its policy regarding TIFs, and that we might find an opportunity to fund some more things utilizing a change in policy by the county about their TIF, whether or not they will participate in TIFs. So stay tuned on that. All right, that's it from me. I will start with, we'll go with Ms. Cole, Trustee Cole.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Trustee Sikora.
Yeah, just a reminder that State Representative Matt Longjohn is having his community coffee hour this Friday, July 11th, from 10:30 to 12 p.m. here at the Township Hall. He'll have legislative updates and comments, and everyone's invited to stop by and share their comments and questions and concerns. And if that's not something you're interested in doing on Friday morning, there's also a Friends of the Parks Trail Work volunteer session Friday from 10 to 12 here at Township Park. And I just wanted to say that it was nice to see that these 2 TIFs, while they were different types of projects, they used several of our investment criteria. They didn't all just like choose the same ones. There was I think one that was in common, but we had a good selection, and the time we spent in coming up with different opportunities shows up in things like that, where people have an option to choose different things that they can make it work. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Chapman?
Nothing.
Treasurer Bushka?
I have nothing.
Geez, I can't even write this fast. Clerk Farmer?
I do have some updates. I met today with Prine and Newhoff in our initial conversation to expand Genesee Prairie Cemetery. They're going to provide me with some companies so I can get some quotes to clear the land, and then they can go in and put the pins in. We're hoping to get that done before the end of this year. Later this month, early voting discussions will begin again with the county. What that will do is provide me with a firm number for this board for the expense of early voting if we were to remain within the county agreement. And ultimately, that will be my recommendation, is that we stay within that county agreement. And I mention that every chance I can get to keep everyone primed on that, because the numbers will be before you guys pretty soon here. Also, election related, the process for rearranging some precincts is underway. Part of which, for the first time, we will not have a precinct here in the township hall. I'm going to be moving precinct 9, which is one of our very large precincts, out to Center Point Church. And this will become our absentee voting center. It will all be in one place.
Okay.
That will be very helpful. That's the feedback that I get, not just from workers, but from also the public who want to be able to watch the process. We are so dispersed across the office. You know, I've got one absentee group here, one here in this little conference room, and one
That's a
set up here.
great improvement.
Yeah, so they're so disjointed that they really need one, and plus we can have one location for the public to be able to stand or sit and view the process, where that's almost impossible, we found in the township hall the last election. Well, there's a possibility I might combine some precincts, so that's the other, I haven't made a decision on that one yet. But we might bring 6 and 5 back together, and then they could just have one location at Skyridge and then move 9 to, so that part is still being worked out, but the process has started. And that is all I have.
All right, well, it is, 8:27, and I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.